Hello champions and future champions. Hello Chessmood family. Gabuzyan is here with you and we are beginning our daily lesson. Before going for the further explanations, I offer you to think in this interesting middle game position with a closed pawn structure. It's white to move, and I offer you to pause the video and try to find a good strategy here for white. Now, the center is closed. Opponent has a passive knight on a5. In order to activate this, black will spend some time with a6 and b5. Looks like black is doing well on the queen side, having some pieces. Center is closed. Let's now take a look at the king side. We notice that there are no good defenders near to black king. For example, bishop on g7 or no knight on f6. This means if we try to make some pressure, we are going to succeed, since it's difficult for black to find defensive resources. Position is closed and none of the pieces is going to join the defense very quickly. All of this is leading to a conclusion that out of a sudden, in this quiet position, white is playing h4, planning to attack here on the king side. And our daily lesson is called Unexpected Problem Creator. Why is this move a good one? Once again, let me tell you. The most important reason is black is not having any defenders on g7 or f6 squares. Mostly against h4 will be playing well a knight on f6, preventing some kind of h5 advancements. As well, when we go h4, black now is not able to play h5 because in a few moves we are going to break this position with the g4 move. Imagine if there is knight staying on f6, again it would be a great defender and control this square. Now white goes queen to d2, sometimes having in the mind moves like queen h6, throwing queen very close to opponent's king and having different threats with g4 or maybe bishop takes h5. And if black now goes king g7, white plays king g2 as well. Why are we doing this important move? Opening up options for our rooks to go to the h file. If now black plays something like a6, because it's really difficult to find a game at the other side of the board, we play g4, breaking the position and starting a huge attack. Since we have an extra piece on the king side, it's a really good choice to begin the attack here. After king g2, in this concrete structure, black is not having much options. For example, if black tries to play something like e5 and fight for the center, we can take, and after black takes back, with rook ad1, we are winning the pawn on d6. If, after king g2, black tries an f5 move, it's gonna be a positional disaster. Now, this pawn is being blocked by our pawn on d5, and once we are going rook to e1 and opening the e file, black will be left with a very weakened fixed pawns. As well, we are getting a monster outpost for our rooks on e6. For all of these reasons, after h4, in this case h5 is not reasonable for black, and they have to allow us play h5 on our own. Here black goes b5, trying to make a gambit style play. Black is forced to do it in this way because, as you have seen, black is not having a game in the king side in the center, and if black just waits for our attack, with h5, king g2 and rook h1, we are going to get a very nice game. Now, if we play h5 right away, black can take on c4, try to open up the b file instantly, and if now we take back as well on c4, black is quickly bringing knight to the defense. Knight takes c4, let's say queen goes to c3 and knight e5. This pawn sacrifice is absolutely not reasonable. Knight is joining the defense and as well we're losing the pawn. This means that after a b5 move, we need to take here. Black will spend some time while taking this pawn back, and already we can use this time in order to create our attack. If now black goes rook to b8, a4 and a6, with an idea if we now take on a6 with the pawn on b3 is gonna be lost. As well, later on, black will have a good chances to take the pawn on a6, since we are not having good resources to defend it. After a6 move in this position, white has a very nice option. you can pause the video and think how white can play here. Now we can go before move. What is the idea? If now black takes on b4 and queen b4, we are successfully protecting our pawn, and we will be able to switch from the king side to the queen side. Now we have a very nice passed pawn on the b5. Soon we can protect it with the moves like e3 or e4 and bringing bishop to e2. As well, our rook is gonna go to b1 square. This pawn will be safe and strong passed pawn. After b4, black is not having good other options. Something like knight c4 also doesn't make a lot of sense. We can play queen to c3, and after knight e5, we can take on c5. Either way, white is staying with an extra pawn, and of course this is enough to have a good advantage. For this reason, after c takes b5, black needs to play queen to b6. a4 now again, a6. And this time already we cannot play b4. What is the difference? Black now has knight c4 move, and if we go queen c3, a takes b5 option is here. The thing is, now if we take back a takes b5, black can simply play queen takes b5 and protect the knight, winning back the pawn, and again knight is successfully joining the defense through e5 square. For this reason, after a6, I offer you to pause the video and think how to continue here as white. Now we are going to ignore the play of black on the queen side and use this time to attack on the king side already. White here plays h5. If now black is deciding to take, it's a terrible outcome. Pawn structure is being destroyed. We can play king g2 and very quickly bring our rook to h1 and to the h file. It's gonna be a very strong attack and black cannot afford this. After h5, if black now goes g5, we already have our b4 move. And difference is the following, that if black now goes knight to c4, we have queen c1, attacking the knight and the pawn at the same time. For this reason, black cannot go g5 move as well, and after h5, black needs to ignore this and take on b5. Now we can go h6, get this strong pawn, but what is the issue? After f6, black is closing this long diagonal. Even though we are getting e6 square for our bishop, we can go bishop g4 and bishop e6. Black king may find some safety on h8. For this reason, it's more reasonable for a white, after a takes b5, to take on g6. If black plays f takes g6, bishop g4 is way stronger now. Bishop will be staying on e6, and as well this long diagonal is opened. Black cannot go for this, and after h takes g6, black has to play pawn takes g6. The last time for this position, I offer you to pause the video and think how to continue here as white. Now we are going king g2. Since we managed to open up the h file, it's a good time to bring our heavy pieces. After f6 and rook h1, white has a great advantage. We are beginning strong attack through the h file. Our bishop is getting options to go to e6 square. Now, if black tries to take the pawn on a4, we are using the fact that our rook can take on a4 and instantly join the attack through the h4 square, so we are not worried about this option as well. And after queen b3, the last winning move is queen a1. Of course we are keeping the queen since we are attacking. Now the knight is hanging. It cannot go anywhere since the rook on a8 will be hanging, and something like queen b5 is losing due to rook a h4 move. Our rooks are doubled on the h file, and this attack is decisive. Opponent's king's position is absolutely destroyed. Once again, let's summarize this position. At the beginning, white is going h4, and in a very unexpected way is creating problems for the opponent's king. The reason it works that there are no good defenders nearby of the black king. Let's now go ahead and see the next example in this topic. This time, in this position, is black to move, and by black is playing strong GM from England, Adams Michael. You can pause the video and think how to continue here as black. Again, we notice that there are no defenders next to opponent's king. Sounds like it's a good reason to play the h5 move. Now, let's see if white is capable of playing h4. What do you think about this? You can pause the video again and try to calculate how to continue here as black. h4 this time is not working out at all. The issue is, we have now knight on g6 and it's ready to be sacrificed at a good moment. We need to have some of our pieces nearby, and that's why black plays a very strong rook c4 move. We are planning to sacrifice our knight on h4 and bring this piece into the game. If now white goes b3, in order to remove this rook from c4 square, we have bishop takes a1 move. bc4, b takes c4. And now, if white plays queen to a1, with c takes d3, we are staying with an extra pawn. As well, if now white takes on d3, we have a stronger decision to go knight e5 and destroy this king's position with knight f3 check. After c takes d3, if white goes rook to d1, we can go knight e5. As well, we have an intermediate move queen b7, attacking this bishop, taking the queen out of fire, and now we're going to take on e2. So either way, black is winning. After rook c4, white can try to go rook c1. Black has here a quiet, but at the same time very strong move. Once again, let's pause the video and try to find it. Black here goes bishop to b6. Idea is the following. We are opening up the way for our rook to go to the king side. As well, we are opening up the d file, and now white cannot take on c4, because after b takes c4, this knight has nowhere to go, since the queen on d1 will be hanging, and we are winning. Otherwise, after bishop b6, whatever white plays, for example, let's say queen to e1, black now can capture on h4. There is a checkmate threat on g2 square. G takes h4 is being checkmated with rook g4 check. And after knight takes h4, if white goes knight to f4, trying to attack the queen and prevent the checkmate. The easiest way to win is rook takes f4, and again we're checkmating. For all of these reasons, after h5 move, white cannot go to h4. Trying to play now rook c1 is not going to succeed as well. Here we have rook c4 move. If now white decides to take, we take back. And after knight c1, black again has a winning continuation. You can pause the video and think about it. Now we're using our power through the d file, and we can play bishop takes f2 check. After white takes back, we are taking the queen on d1 and winning this game. For this reason, after rook c4, white cannot be taking. White can try to play now b3 move. But this doesn't make a lot of sense. We play rook c1, takes on c1, and pawn h4. Preparing h3 idea is gonna be very dangerous for opponent's king. Instead of playing b3 in this position, white can try to play queen e1. Idea is to go e4 and try to cover this long diagonal, but it's not going to work out well. We continue with the h4 move. Now if white goes e4, we have queen g5. Queen is staying now very strong. There is a threat of playing queen g4 and queen f3. Now knight on d3 will be hanging very often. As well, now we're threatening to take on g3 and take for the second time with the queen, since there is a pin on this diagonal. Pawn on f2 cannot take back on g3. As well, after h4 move, if white tries to play now rook takes c4, we have pawn c4, knight c1. And in this position, black has a wonderful move, which I like a lot. You can pause the video and think about it. If we now go h3, white has e4 move. Even though we are still much better, white is temporarily closing this diagonal. For this reason, after knight c1, black plays queen e4 move and taking the square from the pawn. Since pawn on f2 is under a pin, white cannot prevent our ideas. Now we're going h3 move and checkmating. If white tries e3 move, which is only defensive resource, this time we are winning with knight e5, since knight f3 check is unstoppable and black is winning either way. Second time, we are seeing that unexpectedly one of the sides is creating huge problems for the opponent with the side move of the h-pawn, attacking the fine shadow pawn structure using the fact that there are no defenders nearby. Let's now go ahead to the next position, which will be your homework for this topic. Now, it's white to move, and we have an interesting middle game situation. You can share your thoughts and ideas how to play here as white in the comments section below. GM Gabuzyan was here with you. Thank you for your subscriptions, likes, and sharing this video with your friends. We appreciate it a lot. See you next time during our next daily lessons.